the identity of the new Pope. At the end of the second day of balloting, a secret conclave, the College of Cardinals have selected a new pontiff, and we're waiting now for the dean of the Cardinal Deacons. We assume it will be Cardinal Felici, but we'll have to wait and see, to come out and give us the news of the new Pope. Let's go to Rome now, and our correspondent, Peter Jennings. Peter?
Frank, coming out into the balcony now, led by the cross, Cardinal Felici, who will announce to us about 22 minutes after we first saw the white smoke who the new Pope will be. And he looks down, smiling onto an enormous sea of faces here, well in excess of 150,000 people. He will be handed the book and speak to the assembled crowd.
Annuncio vobis gaudium magnum.
I bring you tidings of great joy, I believe. Father O'Keefe is what he's saying?
That's exactly it.
Habemus Papam. Eminentissimum ac reverendissimum Dominum Carolum Sancte Romane Ecclesiae Cardinalem Wojtyła.
As far as we can understand, the Cardinal Felici has just announced the name of a Polish cardinal. Am I correct, Father O'Keefe?
This is exactly correct. This is Cardinal Charles Wojtyła, who is 58 years old, and he is the Cardinal Archdiocese of Cracovia.
Sidi nomen imposuit Ioannis Pauli,
who has taken the name of John Paul.
This is quite an extraordinary surprise, Father O'Keefe.
Absolutely.
Cardinal Carol, to be perfectly honest, I can't even pronounce his name yet. Wojtyła?
It's Wojtyła.
Wojtyła.
Wojtyła. The accent is on the T. Wojtyła. Although you spell it W-O-J-T-I-L-A. Wojtyła. My Polish friends have assured me of that.
Born in Krakow in May of 1920. He was ordained in 1946, just after the war, and was named the Archbishop of Krakow in January of 1964. Made a cardinal by Paul VI back in 1967. His father, a working man, quite an extraordinary surprise, Father O'Keefe. This, more than anything else, a non-Italian.
Peter, they had spoken about the possibilities of a non-Italian this time and the last time, and both times Cardinal Wojtyła was mentioned. In the last conclave, right at the beginning, and he was mentioned as a favorite of Felici. This time, even more, because they felt he was strong and would be a capable man.
The first non-Italian Pope, Robert Trout, I'm sure will surprise you as it has us in 455 years.
Yes, and I'm fascinated to see what the reaction of the Italian, mostly Italian crowd, although cosmopolitan too, of course, will be as slowly the news begins to dawn and as they see the new Polish Pope appear on the central balcony. Waiting for him now. The doors open, and he takes the name, as we have heard, of John Paul. John Paul, incidentally, called himself John Paul I, although the usual royal custom is not to do so. The king, for instance, the King John is just King John until he's gone and there's a John II. Then he becomes John I. But John Paul I called himself the first. And now as I'm talking, we hear the bells ring out for the joyful tidings that there is a new Pope. I have a feeling that the crowd is a little bit bewildered still. Do they seem a little quiet to you, Peter?
The crowd absolutely must be stunned, and the papal crest, the great papal shield on the tapestry is brought out to hang over the papal balcony at St. Peter's, which slopes down overlooking this crowd. It's a magnificent view. And I must say, at this moment, our thoughts go out to the extraordinary reaction there must be in Poland itself, where despite a communist regime, the Catholic community of Poland, almost 90% of the population in Poland, still very devoted Catholics, and there must be as extraordinary, even more of an extraordinary feeling there than there is here in St. Peter's Square at 10 minutes to 7 on a late evening. This is an Eastern Bloc Pope, as we've just said, a Pope from the communist world. I wonder, Father O'Keefe, what the Church is saying in that political respect.
Yes, this will be a very interesting development, Peter. He's the first non-Italian, as you know, since Adrian VI, the Dutchman, in 1523. It's significant that the Cardinals have chosen one from this part of the world.
Frank Reynolds, in Washington, you must be, I suspect, in New York, somewhat track of you, my colleague, you must be as surprised as we are, I think.
Oh, I was just thinking, as you mentioned, Peter, the tremendous reaction there must be to this in Poland, where the Church has survived and has thrived. I was just looking over some of the information we have here. There has never been a Polish Pope, so far as I can make out. Is that your understanding, Father O'Keefe? There have been Frenchmen, Greeks, Syrians, Germans, Spaniards, Austrian, Portuguese.
As far as I know, that's absolutely right.
And he is so young. He's only, 58?
He's 58.
Which, of course, Frank, as I'm sure Father O'Keefe will bear out, is an extraordinary risk in many ways for the Roman Catholic Church to take. One of the reasons they speak about an age window, speaking of windows, the papal window has just been closed for a moment and the curtains drawn again, undoubtedly, while the new Pope John Paul puts on his papal vestments. But the window of age for a pope is often thought of as being about 65, so quite frankly, Father O'Keefe, he doesn't stay around too long. Is that to be perfectly blunt about it?
Well, we have opened that window of age, as they called it, a little wider, beyond 60. Now, I think Peter, he could have a long pontificate.
He could indeed. And Father O'Keefe, let's go back to Frank for a moment and then rejoin this throng in St. Peter's Square.
Yes, we won't be away very long, I can assure you. The new Pope, Pope John Paul, will certainly shortly make his appearance there in St. Peter's balcony. We'll continue with our coverage of these momentous events right after this message. There is the picture of the new Pope, the 264th Pontiff of the Roman Catholic Church, the first ever in history from Poland, one of the most Catholic of all nations.
They say. So there should be 4 or 5 of them, plus members of his pontifical household.
Here he comes. Since we first saw the smoke, and I don't know, quite frankly, how closely you can see him, but let me assure you at the outset, he is smiling.
Cardinal Wyszynski to his left, Peter.
Cardinal Wyszynski, the other Polish cardinal. He is indeed robust, wearing the white scapula on his head. Looking down now to the people immediately beneath him as they wave their white handkerchiefs in the air. Many children here this evening.
You can see Cardinal Wyszynski to our left.
Forgive us for the inevitable contrast with Pope John Paul I, but just a somewhat more relaxed greeting to the crowd. Pope John Paul I with his hands gesticulating, and now we will hear him for the first time. if this crowd settles down. The reaction, I must say, bearing in mind that the last non-Italian had not been well received, certainly Pope John Paul II is being extremely well received.